So I kind of had a nasty spike after breakfast this morning. I went from like 130 to like 190, and then I came down quite nicely into the 80s for lunch without taking extra insulin. And then I took a small dose of insulin with a very low carbohydrate lunch. And as you can see, I'm pretty flatlined. My peak was right in here at about 1 p.m. And now I am 90 and stable. So trying to keep as much of a flatline as possible. And as though earlier I had a nasty breakfast peak. Hi everyone, it's Maddie, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to day 24 of Diabetes Awareness Month, November 24th, 2018. I hope you are all doing well, and I believe in one of my previous videos I had mentioned we were going to talk more about the different factors and things that can happen that can make an impact on your blood sugar, so we're going to go into depth about those today. So with that being said, today's question is, what types of external and internal factors can affect blood sugar? Now, for a non-diabetic, their blood sugar usually stays within a normal range no matter what kind of happens to their body, because they, as a type 1 diabetic, we do not produce any or enough insulin, so we must take insulin from an outside source. But someone without type 1 diabetes makes enough insulin to kind of balance out the blood sugars and keep them under control, even when they have other things that happen to their bodies around them. So I'm going to jump into what things can make your blood sugar raise first. And now there's a lot of different things that I'm going to mention, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the only things that can contribute. There are so many other things that I'm probably not even going to say that can make a huge impact on your blood glucose. So the first thing I can think of is too much food. So if you consume too much food or too many carbohydrates, or you're consuming too many foods with added sugars and added sweeteners and such, that'll definitely make your blood sugar go up. And a lot of things have hidden sugars and hidden carbohydrates that you have to watch for. Improper carb counting. Now this applies specifically to diabetics. We usually count our carbohydrates, especially us type 1s, because we need to know how many carbohydrates we have so that we can properly dose ourselves with the amount of insulin we need for our bodies. So if you guessed that your pile of potatoes was 20 carbs and in reality it was like 35 or 40, well, that's going to make a huge difference on your blood sugar later on. Inactivity is the third thing I can think of. If we don't get enough exercise, or for whatever reason we're less active than usual, that can make an effect on keeping our blood sugars at a decent rate. Sometimes if my blood sugar is just a little elevated or is headed up quite quickly, I might do some fast cardiovascular activity to try to either steady that out or bring it back down to a healthy range. The next thing is too little insulin. Again, this kind of goes hand in hand with carb counting. If you improperly carb count, you're probably going to dose yourself too low on the insulin. So therefore, if you don't have enough insulin in your body, your blood sugars are going to stay higher. And we have to be careful with that too, because if we go without insulin for a long period of time, we can go into a state known as diabetic ketoacidosis. Check out day 5 of my Diabetes Awareness Month series. It is in a playlist called Diabetes Awareness Month, November 2018, if you want to know more about diabetic ketoacidosis. Another thing is side effects from medications. So any of us that take additional medications for our thyroids, or if we have other digestive issues, or so on and so forth, if we take medications, that can have an effect on raising blood glucose levels. The only medications I take outside of my insulin is an occasional ibuprofen or Tylenol. I have not noticed any ill effects from those over-the-counter medications, but I think this is specifically talking about prescription medications for other medical conditions or medical problems. Illness. If we get sick, our blood sugars can go kind of high. This is because your body trying to fight off whatever virus or bacterial infection you may have. Your liver and all your other hormones in your body will try to force more blood glucose to be produced and put into your blood to kind of supply the cells with energy they need to kind of defend and defeat against the virus or the bacterial infection. So illness is one of those things that can affect us. Depending on the person, it could be a really drastic change in blood sugar, or for me, when I've been just ill, I just get a little bit elevated, or I tend to spike kind of bad. when I normally don't, but it'll usually come back down naturally, but I just tend to have nastier, like 1 or 2 hour post-meal spikes are usually worse, even with the same amount of insulin for a similar meal that I've had if I'm a little bit stuffy or whatnot. The next thing is stress. So any type of stress triggers your body to release, again, natural hormones. The fight or flight stage, the adrenal glands will produce adrenaline and so on and so forth, and epinephrine, and that'll kind of get your body into this like gotta go phase, and that stressing on your body will kind of push on your liver and stuff to dump more sugar into your bloodstream, therefore raising blood glucose levels. And that goes for any type of emotion, including anxiety, depression, sadness, anger, frustration, you name it, it can make a huge impact on blood sugar. Excitement too. Excitement goes along with that too, being a more of an optimistic type of emotion. Excitement can drive our blood sugars up too. Next thing is pain. So that, again, this goes along with when you're in pain or you have something's wrong with you. Like for me, my back has been really hurting me, and that may be the reason why that my blood sugar spiked kind of nasty today at breakfast. Don't know, because your body does release natural pain killers called endorphins into your bloodstream, and those can again kind of force your liver to continue along with dumping more glucose into your system. So anytime you have any acute, which is short-term, or chronic, which is considered long-term pain, you could have issues with blood sugar. Ladies, I had mentioned this before, but any of us ladies that have menstrual periods, those can make a huge impact on blood sugar. I'm going to do a whole specific video on that, so you can look forward to that, but I've definitely been a part of this, and I kind of know what happens with me. Some people go really high. Again, I just go a little elevated, and sometimes I tend to have more of the blood sugars that are like mountains instead of like gentle valleys, where you can definitely see on like a Dexcom, where you got to kind of make sure you kick in a little more insulin or do a little more activity to kind of keep them blood sugars not from spiking so bad from all the menstrual period hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and all those fun fancy hormones. And the final thing I can really think of to make your blood glucose go up is dehydration. There's not enough water in your body. The sugar cannot properly be transported into the tissues as quickly, so therefore it's just kind of stick inside your blood vessels, and it's going to hang around and make the blood glucose stay higher for a little longer period of time. Typically too, if I notice my blood sugar's a little elevated, I'll just start slugging some water. If I also take an additional insulin correction with that, that'll usually help bring it down kind of quick. I've actually had some ones where my blood sugar's been at like 160 for about an hour, which isn't super elevated, but not like where I'd like it for a long period of time. I would just slug about 16 ounces or 2 cups full of water, and it would bring it down into the 130s within an hour. And usually that, for me, I know that is dehydration, and you kind of get a little bit of that thirstiness too. Now I'm going to talk about things that can drive your blood glucose down, lower your blood glucose. So the first thing to think of is not enough food. So again, if you're not eating enough food, if there's not enough carbohydrates to the amount of insulin there is, that will cause blood sugars to remain lower. Any consumption of alcohol can drastically lower your blood sugar. Oftentimes too, the sweeter alcohols, they will raise your blood sugar and then drop them down, because alcohol does kind of force all the blood glucose to be put into the tissues quite quickly. So depending on what type of drink it is and the rate you're drinking at, and then whether or not you're eating with your alcoholic beverages, can have a huge impact on your blood sugar. I have not personally experienced this. I'm only 20 years old. I do not drink. I never really have an intent to drink anyway in my life, just because I don't think it's appropriate or anything. But I mean, as I turn 21 here, and if I want to have a drink with friends or something, I'm going to definitely have to watch very closely to what my body specifically does in reaction to alcohol. The next thing is too much insulin. Again, this kind of goes hand in hand with the food. If you overcount the amount of carbs or you overdose yourself for a meal, obviously too much insulin to the amount of carbohydrates or glucose sitting in your bloodstream, that will allow your blood sugars to drop drastically, because so much insulin is taking most of those glucose molecules out of the bloodstream, so therefore you're going to be left with little glucose in your blood, so that would be hypoglycemia right there. Again, this is like the same thing from that can make blood sugar levels rise. This is side effects from medications. So again, depending on what kind of medications, it can lower or raise your blood glucose. And the final thing I can really think of is more physical activities. So again, if you're exercising a lot, it's kind of your body's kind of forced to use all the energy it has. So therefore, it'll make your insulin, that's whatever's in your body, even if it's synthetic insulin, a little more reactive and a little more sensitive to taking everything from the bloodstream into the tissues. So therefore, it will empty most of the glucose from your bloodstream, leaving you with very little, which can cause a low blood sugar. Now, the other thing I can really think of that can have an impact on either direction, up or down, is weather. Some people, like me, if I get super warm, I can go a little bit higher, but then all of a sudden, if I start doing some activity in that warmer weather, I'll kind of drop low. Or if I'm more colder than usual, I'm usually probably riding in a little bit of a lower blood sugar. Again, what I mentioned here that specifically raises or lowers blood sugars could do the opposite. Some things could, like if you're anxious or nervous, I've had it where my blood sugar's actually gone low, not high. But I've had other emotions like being angry or stressed or excited, and they raise the blood sugar for whatever reason. Again, depends on the person. It depends on the environment you're in, the situation you're in. It's no hard and fast rule. What I said is general guidelines doesn't necessarily mean that it has to hold true all the time. So this is all the different external and internal factors that I can think of as far as what can affect your blood sugar. There's a lot of different ones that I did not mention, but feel free to do your own research as to kind of what can affect blood sugar. I will leave a link down below of all the different article that I used to kind of pinpoint and help me in this direction in this video. And if you remember with me too, when I hit 100 subscribers, I will do a diagnosis story for you guys. So continue to look forward to that. I believe we're at about 40 subscribers, so we're almost halfway there. Thank you guys so much for subscribing if you have and interacting with me. I appreciate it. All the feedback you have given me to make these videos more educational and improving to you. So thank you so much for that. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Please subscribe down below if you want to see more videos from me. And if you do decide to subscribe, turn on the little notification bell down in the lower right hand corner next to that subscribe button so you'll never miss when I upload something new. Until tomorrow's video for day 25 of Diabetes Awareness Month, take care, God bless, spread positivity, be kind, and be thankful. Bye, everybody.